Okay, here we have the races for today, 28th of May 2019, as winter fast approaches. There are 3 meetings today. Albury, soft 6, rail out, so that would be one we would be wary of selecting horses so early before the day starts. Newcastle, rail out, good 4, so that's not a bad meeting to have a bet on. Hamilton, heavy 8, again, depends how good your heavy form is. Probably not the one to be rushing into at the start, but you might be able to find something later after the meeting's run. And Rockhampton, where the rail is out 5 metres, so that's not ideal. Track's a good 4. So again, following on to the methods suggested for these videos is to try to find one horse that you can lay and then back some other horses to win. We're going to look at Rockhampton race 6, but before we do that, it's a good idea if you're going to be doing some serious betting, which most people do, is to go through and recalculate the ratings before you start. So again, you need to find the day's meeting out of here. In this case it's 28th of the 5th 2019, so recalculate the ratings before you get started. So anyway, Tuesday, Rockhampton race 6. The beauty of this race, or the reason why we're looking at this race, is there's this horse Marway, has a purple patch of form, and it's $1.65 in the market. So in other words, it's the horse that, assuming it can get beaten, is going to give you an opportunity to possibly snare something from the other runners. Now again, if we have a look at Marway's form, it is pretty impeccable, but again, using the benchmark figures, again which are covered more on the benchmark course, the horse run last start in a 66 rating and it won over 1300 at Rockhampton, carrying 54 kilograms and leading. You'll note that it leads in all its races. So again, today they may try to something different. So that's the problem. If they decide to take a sit and ride the horse differently, then it's possible it could improve or do something different. But given that it's been leading in so many races, chances are they're going to try to lead. It's back from 1300 back to 1200, if you remember the rules, to avoid horses back in distance. So that's one thing. The other thing here is that it's going from 54 to 57. So in other words, it's up in class and up in weight. It does have a good barrier though. Okay, so there's some features there that are suggesting that it could find itself more difficult to win this race. Obviously, it could be just one of these progressive horses moving through the classes and it's just going to go on and win this race, in which case if you're going to bet on it to lose, well, you are going to lose in this case. However, most horses generally improve in form, run up in through the classes, and then they come back in their next spell in a higher class. If we look at the horse overall, he is only a 3-year-old, so he probably still is improving. So again, it's a gamble. However, everything in horse racing is a gamble to an extent. So going through the field very quickly, Craigley Pistol, last start running in a non-TAB where he ran 4th first up. His other form doesn't look that great, so we'd have to prefer him. Now on some of the systems the comments aren't working, so we can just type the comment here, prefer. That's looking at the market sorted, so let's sort it back into race book order. And the prefer's gone in the wrong spot, so there you go, that's no good. Prefer for that one, if we can spell. Mr. Attitude is racing well, so he has to be some chance in this race. Mr. Mark Who, he is racing okay without doing a great deal. He did win a race at Doomben recently in a 76 class, so a stronger race than this. He has gone up at the weights. He does have a bad barrier, so he's probably a place chance. Uthred, he won an open handicap there, again in a 77, stronger race in theory. He's gone to Yeppoon and failed on a heavy 8, so it's hard to say whether that was a good or a bad run. you'd have to say he'd be some chance. Again, he's also got a bad barrier, so we put him in as a place. The next horse, Mr. Marcoux. It's going around a different way depending on how these are set up. Mr. Marcoux we've done already. All three we've done. Backhouse Billy, another one of these horses moving back from New South Wales, although he has been running in Doomben before. He looks unlikely first up. Boggums ran okay first up in a stronger race, then he went to Toowoomba on a wet track. His wet track form is ordinary, his overall form is ordinary. He must be some sort of chance, but you wouldn't be rushing to back him. So we'll say he's a place chance as well. Scrabble does look pretty unlikely, so we'll put him in over here. Prefer. Now we get to the favourite, Marway. Now Marway's got fantastic form really, moving through the grades, and for all intents and purposes the average punter's going to think he's just going to keep going, and maybe he will. 1300 metres, 45 days off, barrier 2, 57 kilos. If we have a look at his weight, we can sort it according to the weight that he's carried. He did run second with 59 in a weaker race. 58.5 he's won, 58 he's won, 57.5 he's won with. So in other words, the weight's not a huge issue. However, in this class he's never carried this amount of weight. So that's one of the problems associated with Marway. You'd have to say he's definitely some chance though. Now ask me, second up, one at Rockhampton over 1050, has won over 1400 metres. So this has to be some chance. Barrier 6, Chelsea Jokic, has to be some chance. So Scorcher won after a let up over 1050. Very well, another leader in the race, so in theory this horse could be one of the horses that could be making it more difficult for the favourite. Has got a win at Toowoomba over 1300, but does look a little doubtful at 1200, but it may run the 1200 strongly, so you'd say some chance. Worth the time. Fourth at Yeppoon in a weaker race seems pretty unlikely, so Prefer. No effort needed, $20 on our market, 151 on the TAB, so it's a big over, but it did run second in a 62 class a few starts back, and it's only got 52 kilos. So if you ignore that first up failure in a stronger race, it has to be some chance. It's very unlikely it's going to win, but some chance. So there you have it, looking at the field. If we sort now to find out where the horses that we think are some chance, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I think we prefer the old worth the time. So there's the potential horses to bet on. Now the next thing we'll have a look at is the sectional ratings. So they're in the summary tab. So just scrolling across to that. The last start sectional rating. Now again, races where there's no sectional ratings are a complication, there's no doubt of that, but anyway, here we end up having some horses with very high speed or sectional ratings, and Marway is the 5th pick, so he's down on the sectional ratings and he's a leader. That was over 1300 admittedly. And on the second last start sectional rating, well, he doesn't have a rating. There was no sectional time and it was on a slow track, so it probably would have been slow anyway. So on that evidence, it seems to be the horses that run in the top couple. Again, if you watch the video of the Sydney races, it applies everywhere. Tend to be the horses that win the races. Marway's a fair way down. Now the other thing, if we have a look at his last start, we have the replays, the runs. I'll have to go back and have a look. Mr. Marku ran 3rd, 13th of the 4th. So on that race there, Mr. Marku and Bogham's run against each other, and their rating, again taking into account the last start weight, the beaten margin, and today's weight, adjusting, Mr. Marku's slightly on top of Bogham's. I did have a look at this race, and Mr. Marku ran over Bogham's. You'd think he would do it again in this race. But the other thing is the favourite run on the same day. So if we have a look at the figures, so let's view. Well, that's no good. We can't view the race here. So we'll leave viewing the race for the moment. But anyway, I had a look at the race on the other computer, and basically the times run by Mr. Marku and Bogham's on that day were similar to the times run by Marway. So in other words, Marway is not that good compared with the other horses. So anyway, a couple of little problems as always with the program, which will no doubt be fixed, but at the minute they're not. So to summarise with this race, we're looking for Marway to get beaten, and we would then be looking to take the other 4 horses. Now the same thing with yesterday, where we laid the favourite and it lost. Don't bet these other horses, so that you're going to end up not making a profit. So if Marway can lose, make sure you're going to make something out of Marway losing and back these other horses, so that Marway loses, you make a profit. Obviously if Marway wins and you've bet on it to lose, well then you are not going to win. But anyway, that's a little bit more about the program today. A few little hiccups in here which need to be fixed, and they will be. So that's the end for today. We'll see how we go after the meeting.